All right, so finally we have the DCU Chapter 1 announced. Now, according to James Gunn, this is just some of Chapter 1 and not the full chapter. So, I guess his chapters are going to be longer than Marvel's phases. That their entire Marvel's entire sagas is a chapter in DCU because he announced quite a bit. So now he didn't mention, for the most part, he didn't mention dates. I think he mentioned maybe one date. But anyway, starting off, the Flash will reset the DCU, which I think everyone knew that was going to happen, even if they didn't start this vision of the DCU and bringing in James Gunn. I think we all figured that this was going to happen. Let's see here. So, he's not going to be a dick and, you know, go after Teen Titans go after Matt Reeves' Batverse or Todd Phillips's Jokerverse. Those are just going to be labeled Elseworlds, which fair enough. So I mean, they'll be Elseworlds until they cross over, I guess, because Matt Reeves even implied that eventually he would want to see a crossover, just not now. So, I mean, he wants it separate, but I think after his trilogy is done, he would be fine with Robert Pattinson crossing over. I think that's what I heard. All right. Oh, and speaking of which, they just released a release date for the second Batman movie, which is going to be October 3rd, 2025. So, there is that. Okay, let's get to the movies. And the first movie that was announced, was Superman Legacy. And let's see. According to James Gunn, it's going to hit theaters July 11th, 2025. Pretty sure that's the only one he gave a date for. Let's see. So, and it's been mentioned quite a few times that this is not an origin story. We're not going to see, again, him coming to Earth in his pod, being found by Martha Jonathan Kent and being raised, blah, blah, blah. He's going to treat Superman the way Matt Reeves is treating Batman. This is going to be like a year 2. So he's still early on in his career, but it's not an origin story. It might hint at his origin, but it's not going to be an origin story. Alright, now this one actually got me excited because I'm not familiar with any of these characters. The next movie he announced was called The Authority. And he's again writing it. And, well, it says Gunn is actively working on a script for The Authority. So, which makes me wonder, is he going to write everything? Is he going to write everything in this chapter? Which, I mean, it's great for continuity, but I don't know. Kevin Feige, doesn't write everything. I don't think he wrote everything during phase 1. He was just the man who brought it all together. Anyway, a movie based on the controversial super team from the Wildstorm label. The Authority is a super team so concerned with saving the planet that they will often cross moral lines to get things done, believing that the ends justify the means. The heroes of the Authority often act like villains. While the Authority was initially developed to be part of its own superhero universe, Gunn and Safran are bringing the Wildstorm characters into the DCU. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, that plotline sounds a lot like Ultron. Now, I'm well aware that DC and Marvel have this give and take relationship. One does something, the other one says, "That's cool. I'll do something similar," and back and forth. So, of course, you're going to get a lot of similar sounding projects. So, yeah, this does sound like something that Ultron did. This idea that he wants to save Earth no matter what. And he just decided that humans are the biggest threat to Earth, which he wasn't wrong. But this idea that they sometimes act like villains. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see this. Never heard of the Authority. I know some Wildstorm characters, so hopefully we'll get characters that I've actually heard of. Not because I read these, but I follow comic book channels that have mentioned these characters. So, Emergency Awesome, help me out here. Emergency Awesome, Top 10 Nerd, somebody help me out here with what characters we're going to see. If it's characters I've already heard of. Alright, now this one, this next one is called The Brave and the Bold. And it's going to be Batman and Robin, but the Damian Wayne Robin. Now, I know a little bit about him. He sounds like a more hardcore Jason Todd before he became Red Hood, based on what I know of both those characters. Because again, I stopped reading comics long before any of these people took over. So, alright, so the way he describes it is, Gunn and Safran have announced that Gods and Monsters, which is the title of chapter 1, is Gods and Monsters. So far we haven't gotten any gods or monsters. Well, I guess if you want to call superheroes by definition gods, then yeah, but so it includes Brave and the Bold, which will be a movie focused on the extended Bat family. More specifically, the upcoming film will put Damian Wayne at the center of the action in a father-son story inspired by Grant Morrison's comic book run. And Grant Morrison is hella weird. So this is going to be trippy. This is going to be a serious trip. The Brave and the Bold will also introduce a new star in the role of the Dark Knight, which, again, that we knew that they're going to introduce young characters. We knew this for a while, that he wants young versions of these characters, not have Michael Keaton or Ben Affleck. Well, Ben Affleck, like I said, kind of bowed out, because he actually learned that mental health is important. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, he didn't announce any, James Gunn did not announce any actors that were cast for these roles. So people can just speculate to their little heart's content as to who's going to be the new Batman, who's going to play Damian Wayne. Obviously, Damian Wayne is a kid. He's an assassin, but he's still a kid. because even though all Robins were kids, but I think he's even younger than most Robins, if I understand that correctly. All right, the next movie is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Now, I'm unsure about this concept, but it also makes sense. Anyway, so it says here it's expected to be released 2 years after Superman Legacy, so 2027. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow will explore a unique character version of Kara Zor-El, Kal-El's cousin. While Kal found a loving family on Earth, Kara floated through space in a destroyed fragment of Krypton, witnessing nothing but death and destruction. So this is inspired by Tom King's run on Superwoman. I'm sorry, Superwoman, Supergirl. And so according to James Gunn, she's going to be more jaded, which, yeah, if all you see is death and destruction around you, you're not going to be the cheery, upbeat person that people are used to seeing. So he really likes the run, so hopefully... I'm always concerned when they do jaded characters because it kind of turns into a serious buzzkill. But DC has always been darker than Marvel anyway, so we'll see. Now, I don't know, is Pennyworth still on HBO Max? Is that still on? Because that probably is also, it just dawned on me, that's probably going to get an Elseworlds label. Because, yeah, nothing to do with DCU. I have no idea why that popped into my head now. But it did. Alright, now, Swamp Thing. Now, I've never read any Swamp Thing comics ever in my entire life. That always was just too bizarre for me growing up. So I never read any Swamp Thing. But considering we just got a taste of Man-Thing in Marvel, maybe I would like Swamp Thing. I don't know. Alright, so this is the last film that was announced. Again, he said that this is only some of the slate. He didn't talk about how long the chapter is. He didn't talk about, how many years this is going to take. Just that this is some of the slate. Alright, so Swamp Thing is going to be the last film. While there's little information about this movie, yeah, he didn't mention much, Safran promised the story will investigate the dark origins of the character, so fans should expect the DCU to draw inspiration from Alan Moore's beloved comic book run. I love it when they say beloved runs, because that's the best place to start with these characters, especially if you're not familiar with the character. So, beloved runs work. And yes, I do know that there's a dark origin to the character. I mean, seriously, running for your life, carrying some formula, going into the swamp and having that formula bond you with the swamp. Yeah, it doesn't get much more hardcore than that. So, yeah. Definitely going to be something I might look into. Alright, now let's get to the TV shows. The first one is Creature Commandos, which is an animation, so I probably will pass on that because, I don't know, I'm just not into animation. I haven't been into it in a while. Probably anime. The drawing style just turned me off to any animation. I don't know. But anyway, The first TV show is Creature Commandos, like I said. It's a 7-episode animated series based on the DC Comics team of the same name, which I've never heard of. Absolutely never in a million years have heard of. The Creature Commandos are a team put together by Amanda Waller, of course it is, and comprise some of DC's most monstrous characters. So, DC version of Midnight Suns, even though not most of them aren't monsters except for Man-Thing. Let's see. Gunn has written the script for all 7 series episodes, which he mentioned. Like I said, is this man writing everything for DC, which is already in production? And so he wants to feature the voices of people who play the live action characters. So if they're voicing the characters, they're going to be playing them in live action. And if they play them in live action, they're going to voice them. But we don't know who is in this show. And since I know literally nothing about this team, but why am I not surprised that Amanda Waller has something to do with it? I mean, she seems to have her hand in all the pots. So, speaking of Amanda Waller, that's that's another show that James Gunn announced. It's called just Waller, and it's obviously going to follow Amanda Waller. So, oh boy, this is going to be the weirdness that Amanda Waller deserves, because the series creator of the Doom Patrol is going to join forces with the Watchmen writer. And Doom Patrol was super, super weird. So, maybe this will be really weird. Okay, so, of course it's going to be starring Viola Davis. That is the only character that we know is coming back. You know, that actor is coming back as that character. Other than that, I don't think he mentioned an actor at all. So when I said that no actors were announced earlier, I meant new actors. Because Viola is sticking with, let's see. The series will serve as a direct follow-up to Peacemaker and feature characters from Gunn's previous DC series. So there's going to be characters from Peacemaker in this show. We don't know if there's any recasts. Because Gunn wrote Peacemaker, I'm thinking that he's going to keep the cast as it is. But you never know. So that means that Peacemaker and probably Suicide Squad will remain canon. He implied that Aquaman 2 and Blue Beetle will also remain canon. So hopefully that means that the kid who's playing Blue Beetle will still be Blue Beetle. Jason Momoa has already implied he's going to remain as Aquaman. So maybe instead of concentrating on Aquaman, he's just going to introduce an Aqualad. He hasn't said anything about Aquaman. Just that it's canon. Same thing with Blue Beetle. Alright. This one, I know a lot of people were excited about when Legends of Tomorrow was first announced. And that's Booster Gold. I know a little bit about him. Just a bit. So, Let's see, the Booster Gold series will stick close to comic books and feature a loser who travels back in time and tries to become a superhero by using advanced technology as his power source. So, let's see, in the comic books, Booster Gold often teams up with Blue Beetle. So, according to this, they're hoping that means that Jaime Reyes is going to remain in DCU. And like I said, based on the way he talked about how this is Aquaman 2 and Blue Beetle are going to flow into the new DCU, leads me to believe that there's no question he's going to remain in the universe. So the next show is called Lanterns, and this has been bandied about for quite a while, talking about a Green Lantern show. And first it was supposed to be a show that jumped from time period to time period, showing different lanterns. Then it got changed, and it sounds like it's being changed again. So, from the Blackest Night of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger will come Lanterns, a series focused on the two most beloved Green Lanterns in DC Comics history, Hal Jordan and John Stewart. The series draws inspiration from detective stories like HBO's True Detective and will portray the Green Lanterns as space cops investigating a dark crime that takes place on Earth. Well, technically that is what the Lanterns are. They're space cops, so yeah, I'm less familiar with John Stewart's Green Lantern. Back when I still watched animation, I did see him in animation, but yeah, for the most part, I don't know him in the comics. Hal Jordan, yeah, him I know. All right, so the next series we have is called Paradise Lost. Ooh, I hope there's no copyright problems, because there's a book by that name. So I really hope there's no copyright issues with this. Alright, the final TV show currently in development in DC Studios is Paradise Lost, a political drama set in Themyscira, Wonder Woman's birthplace. Set years before Diana's birth, the series will explore the political disputes in Themyscira as different Amazons try to seize power for themselves. The show is expected to serve as an origin story of Themyscira itself and reveal how the Amazons created an all-woman society hidden from the rest of the world. So James Gunn described it as a Game of Thrones style show. So I'm unsure what to make of this. On the one hand, it's going to be interesting to see how Themyscira became such a powerhouse. But on the other hand, I don't know, this sounds really bitchy. I never watched Game of Thrones for this very reason. It just seemed rather, I don't know, and I love sci-fi, but it just didn't sound interesting to me. This everybody is trying to take control type thing. Who knows? I'll give it a shot. I will give it a shot. That is all I have. That's all that was announced today. So, God knows when he's going to announce more things. If he's going to wait till it's, closer to the end of chapter 1, or how is he going to announce future projects? Because, again, he said this is only part of chapter 1. So he didn't say if and when he's going to announce the rest of chapter 1. So I believe I've covered everything that there is to cover in this of what he announced. So I will see you guys next time.